So this video is going to be on how to solve Brexit. In order to do this, we will be using game theory, and in the specific game I've chosen, the focus will be on the Irish border backstop. So now I'm going to be having a little look at the real world scenario that inspired the game that I'll be looking at. So, we all know Brexit has been the hot topic of conversation for quite some time now. Ever since we had the UK referendum voting whether to stay or leave in the EU, it has been on everyone's mind. Article 50 was triggered on the 29th of March 2017, and this meant we had 2 years until the deadline of leaving. This is now approaching, and it's the 29th of March 2019. The clock is ticking, and therefore Theresa May is trying to get a deal through her Parliament. However, in the recent vote, something particularly meant the deal was strongly rejected, and this was the Irish border. Ireland is causing such a massive issue because it is divided into the North of Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. Northern Ireland is still in the UK, and therefore when the UK voted to leave the EU, it will also leave. However, the Republic of Ireland will remain in the EU. We really don't want a hard border between the two parts of Ireland, as there was once many issues with peace, and we want to maintain the peace between the two nations. Therefore, in the current deal, there is a proposal of a backstop. However, this has not been very popular, and it means that the UK could indefinitely be left in a customs union with the EU if no current deal on the table states that there will be some sort of trade deal between the two nations. These hard Brexiteers do not want to be under the thumb of the EU, and this backstop may mean that we are under their thumb for many more hundreds of years until the EU says that we are able to leave, and this is not what we want, as we want to be able to make many other trade deals with other countries. Therefore, as long as this backstop remains in such a strong position, it seems likely that many politicians are going to be strongly opposed, as in the recent meaningful vote in January, almost 432 politicians strongly rejected the deal. Labour is now putting pressure on Theresa May to come up with a new deal and have it offered by the 29th of February. Therefore, my game is going to focus on what Theresa May and the EU are going to offer to the UK and whether they're going to accept this deal on the backstop or not. I'm going to be using an ultimatum game, where there is a proposer, in this case Theresa May and the EU, proposing a deal to the responder, who is the UK Parliament. Normally with an ultimatum game, there is a pot of money to be divided. However, I'm assuming that there is 100% utility to be gained from this deal that's made, and the EU gets to decide which proportion of this utility they keep for themselves and how much they'll offer to the UK out of this deal. There is pressure on the deal because Labour have said that there needs to be a new vote by the end of February. If this deal is rejected, I'm assuming that there is likely to be a no deal because of the March deadline, and they have chosen the EU to be the proposer because of their relative size of bargaining power. EU and Theresa May can offer a certain amount of this 100% utility to the UK in either a fair or an unfair deal. The UK can then decide to accept or reject this deal. If they decide to accept this fair deal, there will be a payoff of the 50-50. This makes both sides happy as they get equal utility. The UK are happy because potentially the deal could be a backstop of 10 years or 5 years, which makes them happier. However, in the 80-20 deal, the UK are not as happy as the EU and are getting less of the utility. This might be because there's 100 years or an indefinite backstop. In the 0-0 case, both sides are not happy because it's likely there'll be a hard border because no deal is made, and this is less beneficial for the UK than there being a backstop. Logically, the UK will not reject the deal, as it will mean they will result in a zero payoff, which they don't want. Therefore, the EU know that the UK will accept the deal, and therefore it makes sense for them to offer an unfair deal, as they will get a higher payoff of 80 utility versus 50. This makes it the subgame optimal Nash equilibrium. However, the fair deal is still Nash equilibrium. From the theory, the UK should accept the deal whatever it is, as it will always be greater than the zero payoff of a no deal, a hard border and high admin costs. But it's still very likely the UK could reject the deal. Firstly, game theory is a massive simplification of real life, and the options are not always as simplistic. There could be options such as extending Brexit or even cancelling it altogether. Secondly, people don't behave as they do in the game. Some won't take the deal because they think it's unfair, or some may not take it because it doesn't align with their party politics. And thirdly, people may value the idea of democracy, and they want to honour Brexit, and therefore will sacrifice the soft border for the sake of not having the backstop and not being in the customs union indefinitely.